There are at least 3 ways to build most EDH decks. Strong, fun, and mean. Let's look at 3 brand new decks from Dominaria United. A strong one, a fun one, and a mean one. And the video starts right now.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel or Magic. I am Joel. We're going to get into 3 brand new builds from Dominaria United. A strong build, a fun build, and a mean build. Big thanks to the sponsor of this video, Yahaha Studios. Yahaha is a brand new user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experience. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their virtual experiences. And look, no coding creating experience is needed. You can build the creation without coding experience or server knowledge. Simply use the components and smart assets in Yahaha Studio to make your dream games. Yahaha provides you with millions of ready-to-use 3D assets. These assets are stored in the cloud drive so they can be real-time streamed to the local client when you need to use them. When your work is done, you can easily publish your creation to the Yahaha cross-platform app on mobile and PC, where other players can discover your work and join to play. Check out the pinned comment in this video and click that link to join Yahaha's early access now for free. Big thanks to Yahaha Studios for sponsoring this video. With that taken care of, let's take a look at some commander builds. Just off the rip with Joyra, I love that it is a 2-mana commander, and we're going to be cheating stuff onto the battlefield, artifacts specifically. Jhoira Ageless Innovator is 1 red, 1 blue for a 2/3 human artificer. She's got a tap ability that says, put 2 ingenuity counters on Jhoira Ageless Innovator, then you may put an artifact card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, where X is the number of ingenuity counters on Joyra. So as we're building this deck, the first thing I really want to do is I want to give her haste. So we're going to run cards like Lightning Greaves. You'll see with a lot of the choices that I make for this deck and a lot of the choices that you should be making for this deck, we're going to pick artifacts wherever possible. Any slot that we want to fill with any individual card or group of cards in this deck, if they are artifacts, they lean more towards our synergy and they can be cheated onto the battlefield with Joyra. So giving her haste with cards like Lightning Greaves is a great way to get that done. We want to use that tap ability as soon as she is on the battlefield. We also want to protect Joyra once we get her out with cards like Swiftfoot Boots, another cheap artifact, only 2 mana, give it hexproof and haste. We're now protecting Joyra from targeted removal. We're also giving her haste just like Lightning Greaves so that we can get that tap ability rolling ASAP and start cheating stuff onto the battlefield. Now with Joyra, we're going to be putting counters on her, so let's proliferate the counters. I made another choice here that is an artifact so that we can cheat it onto the battlefield and it plays into our eventual win the game strategies. Throne of Geth has a tap ability, sacrifice an artifact to proliferate. We're going to get to put more counters on Joyra, potentially cheating in bigger and bigger artifacts every time we use her ability. Now with that sacrifice an artifact, we probably need cards like Dockside Extortionist, Academy Manufactor, double some of those tokens that we're creating so that we can create tokens that we are willing to sack to cards like Throne of Geth that also have some utility and some synergy to add to our overall artifact count on the battlefield. Now, if we're going to be cheating a lot of cards onto the battlefield, we also want to keep our hand full. So I think that we should definitely run some of the artifact-based card draw like Padim, Console of Innovation. It's not only going to give our artifacts hexproof, which is another way of protecting the board that we're developing, but with Padim at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, draw a card. That is going to happen more often than you think. I've seen straight up Padim decks as the commander just wreck a table. So in the 99, this card is huge and very synergistic. I also think using cards like Ichor Wellspring, Prophetic Prism, Golden Egg, if you can get these cards out onto the battlefield cheated or played, they draw a card when they enter, and we could potentially have ways to bounce those back to our hand with cards like Vidalcan Mastermind. Pay 1 blue, tap it, return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So if we can get those back, we're drawing cards, we're adding to our artifact synergies, our artifact counts, any kinds of synergies that we want like that. We're going to have more artifacts on the battlefield, especially if we can tie our utility into them. If we can make our card draw be based in artifacts, that's only going to be a good thing for us. Now, that tap ability that Jhoira's got, let's use that more than once per turn with cards like 1,000-Year Elixir. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. You can use Mage Right Stone if you want it on a different artifact. Retreat to Coral Helm is an enchantment that's going to give us a similar effect. Freed from the Real is probably the most famous and the most combo-centric way of doing this. That potentially leads to multiple uses of Jhoira's ability per turn. But 1,000-Year Elixir, you can activate the activated abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. That's excellent. That's another way, like Lightning Greaves, like Swiftfoot Boots, of using Jhoira immediately once she's on the battlefield or returning to the battlefield after multiple or a single removal. Then that other ability, pay 1, tap it, untap target creature. 1,000-Year Elixir is great for this. We're going to get multiple activations of her. And then, you can look at the other 3 examples that I showed you as more ways to get that ability used multiple times per turn. Just in general, like I said, we want to try and choose as many artifacts for this as we possibly can. Now, I want to make a special note for Joyra's build. There are 6 artifact lands, and Jhoira can put these right onto the battlefield. So we can ramp in red and blue with Jhoira's ability immediately. It doesn't matter how many counters. We're going to get some counters on Jhoira just by using her right out of the gate if she comes in with no counters on her. But we can immediately start dropping these lands. There's 6 of them. You got Silver Bluff Bridge here, representing both colors and indestructibility. But you've also got Power Depot, Treasure Vault, Seed of the Synod, Darksteel Furnace, Great Furnace. These are cards that definitely should be in this deck because they can be cheated onto the battlefield by Jhoira and then eventually lead towards our total artifact count, which can help us win the game. Now, I've been talking about our total artifact count and our eventual synergies that we want. So let's look at cards like that. Blightsteel Colossus. Let's get Jhoira absolutely just filled with counters. Cheetah and a Blightsteel Colossus. You can also run cards like Metalwork Colossus. That's going to really lean on how many artifacts we have on the battlefield so that we can get that card out for cheap. You can also run cards like Mere Battlesphere. Not only is that a big, finishy, splashy kind of card, but it's also going to bring tokens in with it. Also like cards like Phyrexian Triniform. Anything that is going to let us play some gigantic artifact creature because we have leaned towards all these artifact synergies and trying to cheat them out as quickly as possible. That's how we will win the game with Jhoira. For the fun build, I love King Darian the 48th. Look, I pulled this card in a limited pool. It killed there. I knew immediately just by playing it in that different format that I wanted to build a commander deck around it, and it could be super fun. Another really cheap CMC commander to come out of the command zone and start doing work for you. 3 mana, 1 white, 1 green, 1 other for a 2/3 human soldier. You get an anthem on Darian that says other creatures you control get +1/+1. And we have an activated ability that doesn't require tapping, so we can use it as many times as we've got mana for. A white and a green and 3 other says put a +1/+1 counter on King Darian and create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So King Darian grows older, gets more powerful, and we go wider by creating soldiers. Then we've also got a sacrifice ability on King Darian that says creature tokens you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So we can protect our entire go wide line, especially like we should be if we're focused on creature tokens and growing those creature tokens. So with King Darian, let's just out of the gate play some token doublers. I'm going to use Queen Alanal here as the example for this card, but also Anointed Procession, Doubling Season, Parallel Lives. You know these cards. These are the cards that absolutely have a home in this deck. But they're a little boring, and Queen Alanal's brand new. Queen Alanal is a white, green for a star elf noble. Power and toughness each equal to the number of creatures you control, so fantastic for this deck, and she herself comes in as a 1/1. And then it also says if 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus a 1/1 white soldier creature token are created instead. So we're adding more go wide to our deck as we are trying to go wide. Now look, King Darian has to sacrifice to protect our go wide line. So what I want to do is figure out ways to return Darian to play without necessarily replaying him from the command zone. That's always an option. Obviously, you can run cards like Command Beacon to get it back into your hand from the command zone, but we can also just leave it in the graveyard and use cards like Sevinne's Reclamation to get it back right onto the battlefield and use that protection ability again. Sevinne's Reclamation says return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then it gets to flashback, and if you flash it back, you also get to do it again. The same ability twice. You could also look at cards like Cosmic Intervention. You could use Brought Back, but maybe have a way or two, some utility ways to get King Darian right out of the graveyard and protect that line yet again. Now, Darian's ability doesn't require tapping to use it, so if we can make infinite mana, we can either grow Darian infinitely and eliminate a player if Darian's attacking and goes unblocked, or we can just grow our attacking line infinitely wide and get through that way and destroy our opponents with combat damage. With Ley Weaver and Maze of Ith, you've got a 2-card combo that can achieve infinite mana. And so if you've got a play group that's okay with infinite combos, I would say maybe look at putting this combo into your deck, or any of the 3 or 4 card combinations that can get you infinite mana in green and white without too much setup, so that you could activate Darian an infinite number of times and get into some absolute shenanigans with that. Now, with Darian, we want to use that sack ability when we choose to. So let's run some cards like Darksteel Plate. Give Darian indestructible. Darksteel Plate itself is indestructible, and we have complete control over when Darian actually dies. Obviously, in response to some kind of board wipe, we can sack Darian and we can protect our line that way. In fact, I don't think it's that bad of an idea in this deck to run some board wipes. Yes, we are a go wide strategy, and traditionally with that, I would say you probably don't want to run too many board wipes because you're just going to destroy your own game plan. But with Darian, cast Wrath of God. In response, sacrifice Darian. All of your creature tokens are now indestructible. You're destroying every other creature on the board potentially. Then you can attack through. That's maybe a win con. Wrath of God actually looks really good to me in this deck. You could also run some protection along with Darksteel Plate like Teferi's Intervention, obviously, to make sure that you have complete control over your board. Darian's first ability is an anthem for your creatures, and so we could stack a couple more of those, most notably cards like Eldrazi Monument. Creatures you control get +1/+1 flying and indestructible. That's pretty excellent. You do, as a downside, have to sacrifice a creature at the beginning of your upkeep with Eldrazi Monument, but there's not many other decks that are better suited to pay that cost, because with Darian, you're making a token most turns anyway. Once Darian's on the board and you've got sort of a little system set up, you probably just want to be dumping mana into Darian. You're gonna have the tokens left over to sacrifice to Eldrazi Monument. If you want a non-sacrifice anthem, you could also run cards like Mirari's Wake and get a little land mana doubler thing. Vanquisher's Banner. You are gonna have a lot of soldiers in this deck. I think that would be a good way to lean, so you could do a little tribal thing, draw some cards, also have another anthem. With the soldier tribal potential, there are new cards from Dominaria United. Valiant Veteran, 2 mana for a 2/2 soldier, says other soldiers you control get +1/+1, and you can pay 5 and exile Valiant Veteran from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on each soldier you control. So some good utility if it's on the battlefield, some good utility out of the graveyard once it's died. I really like this creature, brand new from Dominaria United in this deck. You can also run cards like Bastion Protector. It's a soldier that's going to help out your commander. Catapult Master, so that you can get tricky, and if you've got a nice board built up, you can exile some stuff at a really timely time for yourself. Timely time, I guess that's one way of speaking. You could also run cards like Field Marshal. There's a lot of good soldier tribal options, and since Darian is a soldier and Darian makes soldiers, I really think that there are some options you want to look into, even if you're not heavily leaning into that tribal theme. So we've gone wide. How do we win with a go wide strategy? We run cards like Overwhelming Stampede. We build up our board like crazy. Darian is probably going to give us a nice power to lean on for Overwhelming Stampede ability, and they all get trample, and we swing across for a ton of damage. Overwhelming Stampede says, until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. You've also got cards like Triumph of the Hordes in this sort of realm of big one-time anthems to help you win the game. Triumph of the Hordes is a little sneakier way to get it done because that's going to be poison counters, and if we can just get 10 damage on each player, that's going to be a victory for us. You could also do something huge like Finale of Devastation. Go search up, I'll say something humble like Thunderfoot Baloth. If you've got your commander on the battlefield, everything's going to get a nice little +2/+2 anthem and trample. And we're going to go to town, turning creatures sideways and dealing some damage. My favorite way to play Magic, baby! And for the main deck that I want to build from Dominaria United, I want to go with Ertai Resurrected. I think there's a lot more potential than people are initially giving this commander. I know that it says you're giving your opponent a card draw, but there are ways around that, and we could also use it to our advantage. So let's talk about Ertai. A black, a blue, and 2 other for a 3/2 flashing Phyrexian human wizard. So we can play Ertai at instant speed. When Ertai enters the battlefield, we get to choose up to 1. So we could choose none if we really wanted to, but we get to choose up to 1. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability, and its controller draws a card, or destroy another target creature or planeswalker, its controller draws a card. So right out of the gate, out of the command zone, we've got a stifle counter spellish ability here. We're countering a spell or an activated ability or a triggered ability at the cost of giving the user a card in recompense for us stopping whatever they wanted to do that, hopefully we're using this timely and we're really stopping something critical for them so that it's giving us advantage even though we're giving them a card draw. Or we can destroy a creature or planeswalker out of the command zone. So we've got a counter spell or a removal spell out of the command zone, but we do have to give them a card if we use those abilities. So let's plan around that. First off, let's stop that card draw. Let's run Narset Parter of Veils. Passively, each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Boom. We could also run Notion Thief. That's another great way to keep that, card advantage for our opponent when we use it against them away. We get to use it ourselves if we're using Notion Thief, but at least Narset Parter of Veils is going to be a great target for your tutors in combination with Ertai so that you can act with Ertai without giving your opponents advantage. Because if we can blink Ertai, we get more ETBs and we get more usage off that trigger. If we can get Deadeye Navigator soul bonded with Ertai for 2 mana, we exile it, then return it to the battlefield under your control. So we can counter a spell or a triggered ability, activated ability, destroy a creature, destroy a planeswalker for 2 mana. Plus, Deadeye Navigator is going to let us protect Ertai, leaving it on the battlefield, using those 2 mana. And if we just want to flicker it to save it from some kind of destruction spell, that is going to only cost us 2 mana, and we can choose not to use either of the modes. We can also bounce Ertai back to our hand with cards like Riptide Laboratory. 2 mana, tap it, return target wizard you control to its owner's hand. That's going to keep that cost at 4, which is Ertai's cost. We're not going to have commander tax if we're not playing it out of the command zone again. So we just return it with Riptide Laboratory, end of turn. We have it in our hand, tucked away, ready to use again. Now, we can use those abilities on ourselves. Let's have a card like Bitter Blossom in this. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and create a 1/1 Fairy Rogue creature token with flying that we can do anything we want with. If we combine that with a card like Conjurer's Closet, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Ertai re-enters. We destroy one of our tokens. We don't really care. We're drawing a card. That's 2 cards per turn. We're building this more of a control deck anyway, so the more card advantage that we can have, the better. Now look, Ertai is also a flash creature, and flash tribal, so to speak, has good support. Slitherwisp has flash. Whenever you cast another spell that has flash, you draw a card and each opponent loses a life. That sounds awesome. I love all of the flash tribal support that we've got access to. Nimrus, Una's Trickster, Cunning Nightbonder, Wavebreak Hippocamp. All of these cards are going to create us a nice little synergistic web that's going to take advantage of the fact that we're trying to play at instant speed, hopefully in our opponent's turns. That's going to give us the most options and the most information if we wait as long as we can to use some of our flashing tricks. Now look, Ertai's also a wizard, and Wizard Tribal has some support. Naban, Dean of Iteration. If a wizard entering the battlefield under your control causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. We've got a triggered ability on Ertai when he enters the battlefield. This is like Wizard Panharmonicon here for 2 mana on a human wizard. With Wizard Tribal, you've also got Azami, Lady of Scrolls, Sigil Tracer, Patron Wizard. All of these cards are going to create you a nice little synergistic wizard web. We're countering spells, we're drawing cards. This is what we want to do with a control deck. I told you this was a mean build. Your opponents are not going to like this. I think we could also run some backdoor tricks that would really freak people out. Let's run cards like Eater of Days. So let's read this one first so you can go ahead and freak out, and then we're going to explain to you how we get around it. When Eater of Days comes into play, you skip your next 2 turns. It's a flying, trampling 9/8. This is working towards your win conditions in this deck. We don't ever want to build a deck that just counters everything, that just removes everything. That's annoying, and you're not going to make anybody like you. We need a win condition. Let's seal this one up. We've countered the stuff, we've removed the stuff, we've pissed everybody off. Let's have a win condition so we can shuffle up, go to the next game, and they'll probably make you put your Ertai deck away. With Eater of Days, that comes into play is a triggered ability. So we get to use Ertai's ability to counter a triggered ability. Eater of Days enters the battlefield and the ability goes on the stack. Comes into play, you skip your next 2 turns. We're going to hold priority and respond with Ertai Resurrected. Ertai Resurrected is going to counter a triggered ability. And look, we're the controller. We also get to draw a card. So recapping, we've played a 9/8 flying trampler. We've negated having to deal with the negative effects. Oh, and we got to net a card for our trouble. You can also run cards like Phyrexian Dreadnought, Hunted Horror, Leveler. Look, we can have these creatures enter the battlefield. We counter the negative triggered ability that they bring with them, and we get all of the upside. Side note, if you're running Leveler, you might as well put the Thassa's Oracle in here. It's another win con, and, you know, yell at me in the comments. Because we're already running sort of a blink package for this deck so that Ertai's ETB can be used multiple times, this also sort of feels like a theft deck to me. So let's just like lean fully into the mean thing and run some thief cards. Run Agent of Treachery. Treachery enters the battlefield, we gain control of a permanent, we can blink Agent of Treachery to use it again. We can also, with Ertai, counter any answer that they've got to try and pull their thing back. You know, if they're using some sort of homeward path, that's an activated ability. We can just counter that straight up. There's a lot of utility to Ertai Resurrected, but it's just very, very mean. Those are my strong, fun, and mean builds for Dominaria United. Let me know what you think of this video. This is a bit of a departure for the 3 Ways series. I'm doing it a little bit different this time to see if y'all like it more. So make sure you go down there, drop me a comment, and let me know what you thought. Also, if you're planning to buy any of these commanders or any of these cards, we have a TCG player link in the description of this video. If you click on that before you check out at TCG Player, you will be directly helping our channel, and it doesn't cost you any extra of what you're spending on those Magic cards already. So think about clicking it and helping out the channel. Other than that, I am tapped out. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you later.